Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Surabhyay Namaha 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 Mukam karoti vachalam tvangum langayate girim Yat kripat maham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripat maham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to everyone to our ongoing reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. A special welcome to Krishna Chandra Prabhu, arriving all the way from Bellary. Yes. And at the end of the class we have a little something special today. I will keep you all in suspense so that no one should leave the class before that event takes place. Yeah. So we are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. I do apologize for not being able to be there yesterday. So you read which verse?
Some special verse, Maharaj, some other verse, because we want this to continue.
Okay, so today we are reading text number 220, yeah? So text number 20, yes. Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
भगवद् भक्ति योगतः
भागवत भक्ति योगतः
भगवत् तत्व विज्ञानम्
भागवत तत्व विज्ञानम्
मुक्त संगस्य जायते
मुक्त संगस्य जायते
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
भगवत भक्ति योगितः
भागवत भक्ति योगतः
भगवत तत्व विज्ञानम्
भागवत तत्व विज्ञानम्
मुक्त संगस्य जायते
मुक्त संगस्य जायते
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
एवं प्रसन्न मनसो
भगवद् भक्ति योगतः
भगवत भक्ति योगतः
भगवत् तत्व विज्ञानम्
भगवत तत्व विज्ञानम्
मुक्त संगस्य जायते
मुक्त संगस्य जायते एवं thus prasanna enliven manasah of the mind Bhagavat Bhakti
Bhagavad Bhakti,
the devotional service of the Lord
the devotional service of the Lord,
Yogataha by contact of Bhagavat regarding the personality of Godhead
regarding the personality of Godhead,
Tattva knowledge
knowledge,
Vijnanam scientific Mukta liberated Sangasya of the association Jayate becomes effective. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Kindly repeat after me. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. Mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus they are engaged always in lust, desire, hankerings, ignorance, and sleep. Out of many such man-like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who have thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita, 1855, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Sri Krishna is understood only by the process of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga. The very same thing is confirmed herein in the above words. No ordinary man, or even one who has attained success in human life, can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is, in fact, spirit. And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankerings and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. This attainment of success is possible when one is above the modes of passion and ignorance, or in other words, when one is actually a Brahmana by qualification. A Brahmana is the symbol of Sattva Guna, or the mode of goodness. And others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, or less than the Shudras. The Brahminical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action, but that is not the end of it. As referred to above, such a Brahmana has to become a Vaishnava, in fact, to be actually in the transcendental stage. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul, because although in the Brahminical stage the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized because although in the Brahminical stage the conception of Brahman or transcendental or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahminical stage and reach the Vasudeva stage to understand the personality of Godhead Krishna. The science of the personality of Godhead is the subject matter for study by the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. Foolish men or men with a poor fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of the personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava, in the enlivened state of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. Translation again. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Very important verse, and very profound statements are being made both in the text as well as the purport given by Srila Prabhupada. Here it is explained how one should, in the human form of life, at least come to the platform of goodness, or in other words, develop the qualities of a Brahmana. Brahmana is someone who is situated primarily in the mode of goodness. But that is not sufficient. We know, of course, that to become a Brahmana is not so easy. I mean, to become a qualified Brahmana, to develop the Brahminical qualities as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Shamo damas tapasosam chantirajabam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahmakarma svabhavajam. 9 qualities of a Brahmana. Very, very rare to find these qualities in individuals. Brahmana is meant to be primarily a teacher. How many teachers do you know have these 9 qualities? Not many. So even to attain or to reach the level of Brahmana is not at all easy. Prabhupada even explains that to even begin thinking about transcendence, the subject matter of spirituality, is very rare. After many, many lifetimes, Prabhupada makes reference, Bahunam Janvanamante Jnanamam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudulava. Very, very rare. And what to speak of coming to that beyond the platform of Brahmana. So the text itself is very very significant. One of the characteristics of one who actually reaches that level, Brahminical level, or one who is able to remain situated in the mode of goodness, is that his mind is always peaceful. How many of you's mind is always peaceful? Not so easy, but that is evam prasanna manaso. The mind becomes peaceful because one is firmly rooted in that understanding, in that conviction, in that realization that actually I have nothing to do with this material world. And it is only when one is on that platform, evam prasanna manaso, then Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha, one can nicely engage in activities of bhakti, devotional service. One will act on the platform of a devotee. One will be eager to take up all kinds of activities in devotional service and perform those activities very nicely. When one is fortunate to act on that platform, then that is when Krishna begins to reciprocate in a very intimate and personal way. with such a devotee. Because here it mentions Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. One will gain transcendental understanding of himself and of the Lord and of the whole subject matter of of the absolute truth, which is bhakti, or devotional service. And having attained that form, then that means one becomes liberated. Mukta Sangasa Jayati. So as we are hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam as well, especially this particular section here, we have been reading and studying how it is by the regulated and constant endeavor of hearing. These verses began with Srindatam Swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Rijantastoya Badrani Vidunoti Saritsatam. Because of our being covered by these modes of material nature, being highly conditioned by these modes of material nature, therefore our mind is chanchala, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, chanchala imana Krishna, how to control this restless mind. So that process is nicely explained here, and it is the most scientific process. Anyone who actually makes an experiment with the different stages that are described here will get, it is guaranteed, will get the desired result. One will come to that platform of being very, very satisfied and very happy being a devotee, and very attached also to being a devotee, knowing and understanding oneself to be very fortunate. Prabhupada would explain that this is one of the important symptoms, one of the important symptoms of the devotee is that he is happy. How to become happy? Everyone is hankering to be happy, but only the devotees have the formula to actually become happy. To become, free. Everyone actually in the material world is, their mind is like weighty, not light, very weighty. Many years ago, one of my close godbrothers, there's an expression in English called simpleton. I don't know if you're familiar with this simpleton. Simpleton. If somebody calls you simpleton, it's like it's normally taken as an insult. It means you're just like somewhat you're too simple. You're not very interesting. It means actually it has the connotation of being not able to understand. Simple. But actually, Krishna consciousness enables one to become simple in his thoughts, simple in the way he lives, because he's not overly preoccupied mentally. There's another word also which generally has a negative connotation. One devotee was telling Prabhupada, people sometimes they call us, or they say that these Hare Krishna people, because they want to go back to the village, or they want to go back to, simple things. Sometimes people, they say we are primitive. Prabhupada paused for a few minutes. He says, yes, actually we are primitive. Primitive is very nice. Primitive means original, and what is primary? Primary means what is the most important. We are by nature primitive. And Prabhupada was going on glorifying the word primitive. Again, Prabhupada was very, very expert in analyzing words that we had heard before, but he gave it a different purport, different kind of understanding, a very deep understanding that generally, because we don't think so much, Prabhupada was very, very attentive. That's why in his translations, his purports of the Bhagavatam, one devotee who was his secretary in the early days, Harikesh, actually, before he became Harikesh, Swami and whatnot, he was ordinary secretary to Srila Prabhupada, and he was relating many years afterwards his memories of being with Srila Prabhupada. And in those days, Prabhupada would be using the dictaphone machine at night time, and then the devotees would take this cassette. It was all on cassette. Many of you maybe have never seen a cassette in your life, some of you. Anyways, cassettes. And so he had to transcribe. So he was mentioning that Prabhupada sometimes he would be translating and then click. I mean, this dictaphone machine being on and off, on and off, on and off. And then he was telling that sometimes Prabhupada would click it off and it would take like 45 seconds or more before Prabhupada again came back. That means that Prabhupada was very meticulous in choosing words and in delivering the message. That's why we are receiving the pure message and the message without any adulteration. Bhagavad Gita as it is. All the other books are also as it is, even though it's not written on the title, but as it is. That is, as it is coming down in Guru Parampara. So our task is actually very simple. All we have to do is learn the simple formulas. That's why, has anyone here ever taken what is called Vedic Mathematics? 50% of your life is wasted. Vedic math, I also, my 50% also wasted. But this is one of the subjects that we could introduce in our Gurukul here, actually. Vedic mathematics is based on simple, limited number of formulas. If you learn these formulas, you don't need any kind of gadget or machine, nothing. And somebody can give you the most complicated, mathematical task, and within practically immediately you can solve it without the use of any machine, just by knowing these formulas. That's why, let's say, rising from mathematics to philosophy, philosophy of life, if we learn these different formulas, and just like this series of texts that we are reading now, they are like very, concentrated. It's like concentrated formulas, simple, that if we learn and keep those in mind and meditate upon them, then and apply what is there, then we can very easily attain or come to the desired destination, which will be revealed tomorrow. So you have to come to Bhagavatam class tomorrow to know what will be the outcome of all of this. Of course, it's already nicely explaining here that when we allow ourselves to become situated, when we come to that platform of goodness, then by the proper application of bhakti devotional service, we will come to pure goodness, and it is at that level that Krishna bestows his mercy by giving us this Vigyan, which is translated here by Srila Prabhupada, scientific understanding of the absolute truth. We cannot by our own self have this Vigyan. It is something that is given by Krishna himself. So I will read the text just once more, and if there's any comment or question. So this was text number 20. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. The man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service. Any thoughts, comments? Yes.
This Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, even the Brahman realized devotees,
Yes.
they are also happy. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. Devotees are also happy.
Different kind of happiness.
What is the difference between
Yes. The difference is like a drop of water and the ocean. Yeah, it is nicely explained that this Brahmabhuta platform, or referred to as the Ananda of Brahman, Brahmananda. This Brahmananda is completely different. Yes, it is some form of happiness. Even there is happiness also. Prabhupada speaks about material rasa. There is material rasa and spiritual rasa. Spiritual rasa, the beginning level, is this Brahmananda, when one attains that level of Brahmabhuta, fully realizing, understanding oneself as not being the body but eternal spirit soul. But that is devoid of the knowledge of Krishna. That is devoid of the knowledge of rasa, of spiritual transcendental rasa. Especially these higher levels of rasa are just not, accessible to someone who is simply on the platform of not being the body. So therefore, from Brahmananda we have to come, the process of Krishna consciousness, the process given to us by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enables us to come from the platform of Brahmananda to Premananda, isn't it? And therefore, we have a number of wonderful examples of individuals who were already self-realized in terms of being spirit souls. Beginning with Shukadeva Goswami, he was completely satisfied, self-realized, etc. The Kumaras also, isn't it? And in this way we see how if one has a great fortune, this is what happened also to our Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. he was also, we could say, Brahman realized, but it is only when he came in contact with Bhakti, when he came in contact with Lord Chaitanya. So the comparison, there's no comparison, so to speak. One is just very insignificant, and because it does not position us in our actual eternal constitutional position as servants of Krishna in a relationship. Relationship means, Prabhupada would say, love means two. Love means two. It has to be an exchange between one person and another person. Whereas in Brahman realization, you're just like floating in nowhere, you know. It's like, that's why, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesh Shanyavad. And these two are like what Krishna consciousness is endeavoring to change, the impersonal and also the Buddhist philosophy of what is it?
Voidism.
Voidism, correct, yeah, voidism. Nothing. Le néant. Yeah, the néant. You know néant?
Sunyavad.
Yeah. So in French it's néant. Néant means zero, nothing. Yeah, blank. It's like sometimes we become blank. Hopefully not too often. So it is a world of difference. It is a world of difference, and it is only possible, just like Prabhupada explains also in the purport, it's actually very rare to even come to that platform of being on the Brahma-Bhuta platform, but even more rare to go beyond. And that's why Prabhupada would always, or so often, be reminding us of our great fortune, those who are coming in contact with the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is that great benediction that is being given to those living entities, whether they were situated on the Brahma-Bhuta platform or on no platform, you know, regardless, no prerequisite whatsoever to receive this special mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So especially in Kali Yuga, from the lowest platform, lowest level, most covered, most fallen condition, therefore Lord Chaitanya and the process of the holy name and Sankirtan will bring us way beyond Brahmananda. Yeah.
Like Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana, if somebody has realized the transcendental knowledge, it is side here in the translation.
Yes, Bhagavat Tattva. So what one has to understand, one has to find out or ask him, what is your meaning of Bhagavat Tattva?
And if somebody realizes the transcendental knowledge, then the effects of modes of material nature affects him or not? Is he under the modes of material nature, or he has transcended that?
There is, in the subtle level, the modes are still there, because unless and until one becomes engaged in the transcendental activities of the Lord in devotional service, as Prabhupada explains, people who are on that platform, they will merge. They can merge in the Brahmajyoti, but their position is not secure, therefore they have to come back. And therefore they will. So on the very subtle platform, the connection with the modes is still there. Just like that verse is explaining, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. They cannot be peaceful, they cannot be happy, because they have not revived their original consciousness, which is a consciousness of service to a person, to the Supreme Person, to Krishna. Yeah. Yes.
In devotional service, service also we have anxiety because we have given some certain
In devotional service we have
anxiety to do the service.
anxiety. Yes,
It is a responsibility.
that is transcendental anxiety. Supposed to be.
So how to balance not overly anxiety with those services, or they'll take very seriously do that services.
How to balance so that we don't develop over anxiety.
You should be like that, or should be more into.
Generally, for most people, we should be overly anxious, not underly anxious. No, it is healthy, desirable, it is good to have some anxiety about our our position, our performance of devotional service. We should be having a strong desire. Our acharyas explain we should be developing this alobha. We should be greedy for engaging in devotional service. We should be anxious. That kind of anxiety is actually good for us because it helps us to come to that platform and to stay or to remain on that platform of devotional service. And that platform of devotional service will have the effect of making us happy. When we engage in those activities of devotional service, susukam kartamabhyayam, they are very pleasing. So what we call this kind of transcendental anxiety will actually be a source of pleasure and happiness for us. Yeah.
But how that anxiety become happy? That is anxiety, but later.
How the separation of the gopis from Krishna become a source of transcendental happiness. You have to come to that platform, you'll understand. We have a few minutes before the end of the class, and now it's time for a small surprise. Actually, many of you may not know, probably most of you don't know. And where's my cell phone? Yeah. Somebody has to take, this is like a history in the making. Devotees are always making history. So, yeah. Actually, I was visiting just before, my God, already it's like 1 year ago. Last year, just before coming to ISKCON, that was the day before Gaur Purnima, our party, Dharma Gogram Yatra party, Rameshwar Prabhu remembers very much, we were in Bellary. So Krishna Chandra Prabhu actually is located in Bellary, which is, everyone knows where Bellary is. How many kilometers from here?
350.
350, yeah. So, and there they have very nice congregation, many nice, enthusiastic devotees, many young devotees also. So there I came to know that Krishna Chandra Prabhu had performed an activity which is unusual. And not only unusual, but unparalleled. I'm going to try to keep you in not in anxiety, in suspense. In suspense. So actually, he revealed to me, and he showed me a video also of his good self, and you can speak to him personally because we have limited time. I can't go into the details, although you should take the time to speak with him. He told me why he performed a very special activity for a special purpose. That purpose being to actually convince devotees and non-devotees as well. This is all in relation to what happened, the central activity that took place in Kurukshetra 5,000 plus years ago. What's the most important thing that took place in Kurukshetra?
Bhagavad Gita was
He saw this paper. Yes, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. But sometimes people will say, my God, it's a big book, it takes a long time to read, and then they'll say, how is it possible for Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita? I mean, it was just before a war. You don't. So, to demonstrate that actually it did not take a long time, this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna did not take a long time. And to prove that, Krishna Chandra Prabhu went about to learn by heart the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. That's only the beginning. Not only he learned these 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, but he listened to this carefully. All of you, listen to this carefully. He established what no one else on the planet so far has established. He recited in a world record time all 700 verses from the first to the last. How many minutes? 73 minutes. And therefore, this is entered now, and they have different, world records. And he received recognition. Where's my glasses here? Yeah, I'll just read this. That's what I did last time also. This is from the World Book of Records from the United Kingdom. There are different people who have this certificate to, he's actually his previous life. Dr. Chandramouli Varma, His Grace Krishna Chandra Das, ISKCON devotee, Bangalore, Karnataka, India, has been included for remembering and reciting the 700 slokas of Bhagavad Gita in the minimum possible time of 73 minutes on the 27th of January 2020 at Bellary, Karnataka, India. So I would like to award this to him officially in front of all of you, and not only he's able to recite the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, but if you choose any verse number from any chapter, he'll recite it for you with the translation. Anyways, that's another thing. So I'd like to call upon Krishna Chandra Prabhu, and somebody can take, Congratulations to Krishna Chandra Prabhu ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Can, Yes. Hare. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. And the next part of the program is soon to happen. So there was a nice program. So we can close this now, I think. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Who's controlling? The controller has left.